inspiring you to set the marketplace ablaze in partnership with an awesome and limitless God. This is the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast, and this isn't business as usual. Here's your host and Chief Fire Igniter, Shay Bynes.
Welcome back to the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. This is your host, Shay Bynes, and our goal here is to inspire you to operate your business completely yielded and in partnership with our awesome and limitless God. Today's guest is Kelly Thorne Gore, one of my dear friends and a business coach to network marketers. It's funny because I was scheduled to interview Kelly. I already had her episode on the production schedule to be released about 5 weeks from now, but I sensed the Holy Spirit nudging me to shift the schedule and release hers right away. I believe that there is a right now message in our conversation for many of you. We chatted about how embracing working by the power of God's grace has changed the way she approaches her business and how God has moved powerfully as she embraced putting the King's agenda first and has allowed him to be the source of her business blueprint. Frankly, whether you're in network marketing or not, what Kelly shares is powerful, and I believe you'll be blessed by what she shares. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you know about our Firestarter School. Firestarter School walks you through key foundations and practical applications that help you to confidently partner with God at greater levels in your business. It's all about positioning you to experience His best and have a greater kingdom impact in the marketplace. It's a MP3 audio course available via mobile app. So I guess you can say it's like having me as a mentor in your pocket. And I truly believe that if you are a listener of this podcast and you enjoy what you're hearing and learning, you are going to want to grab Firestarter School. And guess what? Lifetime access to the course is available at the price of your choice. Yes, you heard that correctly. So go ahead over to our website at kingdomdrivenentrepreneur.com/Firestarter School and get all the details. Now let's get started with my conversation today with Kelly Thorne Gore. Listen in and enjoy. Kelly Thorne Gore, how are you, my friend?
I'm so good. And I'm so happy I can see you, but to hear you too.
You're right. It's always good. They don't get to see you, but we get to see each other. So it's fun. I had to go look it up, Kelly, because you've actually been on the podcast twice. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for like 6 years. So this is your third time on the podcast, but the last time was almost 5 years ago.
That is crazy.
I know. Like a whole lot has changed in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh.
And really, quite honestly, every time I'm on your podcast, like mega shifts have happened right before.
Right. So what else is new, right? This is just how we roll.
Yes.
Oh, man. So you are in Kentucky. We're in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic craziness. How are you holding up there, quarantined? Aren't you on like day 14 of your self-isolation?
We are. So I have an autoimmune disorder that affects my lungs. So we are very much taking this seriously. And yeah, I think this is day 14. By the time this airs, it's going to be many more days than that. But we're in for a while. And I will say at first, it was hard. I am such a planner that to have literally like my whole world turned upside down and like have to come up with a plan really, really fast was like so not me. And so I struggled for a little bit and I found myself focused like on all the things not going right or all the things that I wish were different.
Right.
And I just had this come to Jesus meeting last Sunday, actually. And God just totally intervened in like the most incredible way. Part of that was through a message. I'll give you the link. It was through Stephen Furtick and Elevation Church. And he just talked about like, what if this interruption from God is on purpose? And what if it's positioning you for a miracle? And so there were lots of other nuggets in that. And then I went out for a walk after I listened to that message. And I was listening to, it's an old Kim Walker-Smith
I love
CD.
her.
It just happened to be on my Amazon Music. I haven't listened to it in years. And the entire album, I'll give you that link also, it was like for this moment. I mean, like literally, it was almost like God was saying, like, I gave her this CD for this moment. And I am like walking in my neighborhood and like sobbing, like literally my hands up. I'm sure my neighbors think I am a nut. But it was this moment of surrender. And it's like what we focus on grows. And it was such a paradigm shift. And like since then, there's so much more joy and peace in my home. And it really was just God shifted my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. I love that. So you mentioned a little while ago that you go through some pretty significant shifts every time you're about to come on the podcast. And so you actually, this has been a shift in the making, really. So we're friends. So I've walked this thing out with you every step of the way. So I've got all the details. But so you had iBloom, the iBloom community. Then God shifted you into the network marketing arena or industry. And so you were growing a business there. And then he shifted you again to, yes, you're continuing to do that, but now you are also helping others at network marketing to grow their businesses. And I want to talk about this a bit because network marketing has a way about it that, many people who were in network marketing will admit to. And they'll say, look, I've got my list. I need to make all the calls. I burn my list. I go, I do all the things. I've got this exact blueprint that I need to follow from A to Z. I need to, make sure that I'm getting this direction from my upline. I need to do this and that whole thing. Right.
Yes.
And so it's almost like a blueprint is placed before you. And it's like, here's your blueprint, go replicate that and you can have success here. But God did something so different with you. I remember you read Grace Over Grind and you're like, this can totally shift the way I do my network marketing business. And I want to talk about that journey that you went through and how God showed up as you surrendered to how he wanted to guide you in doing this business and what it's meant even for people who you're leading as a team leader. So just like take me through the journey.
Yeah. So I think the thing that is so interesting is that you and I have been friends for a long time. And I was the one begging you to write Grace Over Grind.
That's true.
And that message resonated so much with me. However, even though I knew the message, it wasn't really until the book came out that I got it in a whole new way. And so God has used that book in my life. And I would just say for those of you listening, it is a book that I listen to it every flight I take, and I travel quite a bit when I'm not quarantined. So I listen to it and I read the book at least once a month. Like that is how pivotal it has been since it came out. And so it's a gift that I give everybody who joins my team. And I tell them, like, we do our business differently. And the way we do it differently is we don't create the list of 100. We don't send cold messages and we don't spam people. Instead, what we do is we pray. Like literally we pray and we ask God to show us, like, who are the people who need this right now? And I'll tell you, I'm a business coach and it's really hard not to always have a blueprint, like to hand someone to say like, okay, go and do this A to Z. That's like actually easier.
Yeah.
But in this way, my team gets to see God show up. And so just to give you a couple of examples, one of the things we do as a team is we pray and we ask God to show us, God, what is the best time or best use of my time and energy today? So God, what's the best use of my time and energy today? And then we sit with God and we allow him to show us the plan for the day. We also pray, God, who are the people in my life who need this? Like they need the business opportunity. They need these products. And when God brings those people to mind, we start praying. So even as a team, we lead our team in this. And so they'll put the first name of the person that God's put on their heart. And as a team, we rally and we start praying for that particular person.
Wow.
And the part that is so amazing, like this happens over and over and over. The people we're praying for, we haven't even sent them a message to like check in or anything like that. And God puts it on their hearts and they reach out to us. Or they'll comment on one of our posts, not even like related to what it was, but we know God gave us that name. And so it has been so incredible to watch just how we can be in this partnership with God. So it's not a specific blueprint. Now, I will say I have, part of that shift has been my experience was online business.
Right.
So the building the email list, the part that is very different than network marketing. And so when I joined my network marketing company, I kind of laid that aside. And part of that shift back has been, well, wait a minute, I can use that experience. It doesn't have to just be people that I personally know. In fact, I heard someone recently say, like, you can't build a network marketing business with your friends and family. In the same way, you would not open a restaurant and expect just your friends and family to support you.
Right.
And so that has been a big paradigm shift of realizing, like, I had all this online business experience of how to grow an email list, how to identify, like, who's the person I want to serve, and how can I reach them with really good content so that it's serving them, and then they automatically want what I have.
Right.
And so a lot of what we teach on our team is like, we're just showing up to love and serve. So through this whole, there's a lot going on right now. A lot of people aren't starting businesses. A lot of people are having their businesses closed. Like, it can be a scary time right now.
Yeah.
But what our team is doing is we're praying and we're asking God, who do you want me to love and serve today? So one of the girls on my team said, like, I really feel like we're supposed to just go love and encourage the healthcare workers that we know. And so we've been doing that. We've been doing, gift cards from local restaurants so that they can get dinner for their family. And we've been writing them notes of encouragement and sending them voice prayers. And again, with like really no agenda, that was just what God laid on her heart. And
Yes.
we were like, yeah, that's awesome. And the same thing with like teachers. We did that for a little while, was, okay, like, let's just love and encourage teachers because they're doing a lot more work than they would be in the classroom right now.
Yeah.
For moms, how can we just love on moms who are now all of a sudden home with their kids? And again, like, no agenda, but just
the King's agenda.
Yes. Yeah. And when I say no agenda, it's no agenda like that they're going to join our team. We just want to show that this is an avenue. And I'm seeing this a lot with people in network marketing right now, especially, and really just any business. It's sort of this thing of like, okay, our country is in crisis, not just our country, the world is in crisis. And a lot of businesses are closing, some temporary, some for good. A lot of people are losing their jobs. And so it creates this thing of, okay, wait, because I'm not closing up shop, how do I market in the midst of this?
Right.
I've had people message me and say, okay, like, I don't want to ever want people to think I'm taking advantage of them or their situation.
Yes.
And so what we've kind of landed on our team is like, same thing. We got to do what God shows us to do. And so if God shows us to reach out to someone, we can't not do that because we're fearful of what they're going to think of us.
Right.
Instead, we got to show up with the right motives and the right intention to love and serve them where they are.
That's so good. I'm curious that when you made these shifts yourself, and then you're saying, okay, so this is a little bit different. The way I'm operating business is a bit different. It's kind of different from the blueprint handed to me. And now I'm cultivating this in others. Was that a challenge at all as you were bringing team members in? Perhaps some of them have been in other network marketing businesses before. They're used to doing something a certain way, or maybe they've never even thought about this whole idea about doing business in partnership with God, or maybe they're not even believers in Jesus. Like, what has it been like from a leadership and cultivating an environment, like a kingdom-driven environment?
Yeah, that part like makes me cry because I would venture to guess every single person on my team would tell you they have a better relationship with God. They would tell you they have a better relationship with their spouse. They have a better relationship with their kids. Like, they are a better person because of the way we manage our team. And so a lot of that is because we very much value living into our priorities. And we believe this business is simply a vehicle to pursue our purpose. And so we say that a lot. And we talk about, like, we're not going to sacrifice our marriage by working tons of hours. We're not going to sacrifice our family. Like, we are putting them as a high priority. And we're seeing this business as a vehicle to pursue that. And so, yeah, when people join our team, and I have one girl, and now she's so much closer to God, but she used to be in ministry and had a very bad experience and was very distant from God and just so hurt by a particular ministry and people in it, and like wasn't quite sure what she believed about God anymore. Like, was he good? Was he really going to provide for her and her family? And she would often ask me, she's like, okay, but I see other people like giving this plan. Like, can't you just give me the plan? Like, you are a business coach, you know the plan.
Yes.
And so a lot of it has been like, but God has done this mighty work in her, this mighty work of, like, she and her husband were separated and now they're back together.
So good.
And like the growth in her, and even like God's totally unearthed this bigger vision for her life, that she is to be the one to break the generational poverty in her family, and that it is stopping with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like a big part of our thing is like, we believe God's given you big dreams and big visions, and it might not be this network marketing company, like, is the purpose, but it's a vehicle for you to start that orphanage. It's a vehicle for you to fund that school. It's a vehicle for you to do all these other things that God's called you to do. And so it has been amazing. Like, I wouldn't have to have any more success, like financial success, you know, like what the world is success, except just like leading these people to Jesus and like teaching them. You know, I had one girl recently join, and she's like, okay, you're like talking about like you hear from God. Like, what do you mean God tells you the plan for the day? Like, I don't get that.
Yes.
And so like teaching her how to hear the voice of God and how to trust herself. And like, I can't think of anything that would bring me more joy than doing this business. And the thing I love about network marketing is I have like the most amazing team, but I'm not responsible for their salaries. And that was one of the things that, I'm sure I talked about this 5 years ago when I was on, was that was a big stress for me, was being responsible for a team. And I felt like that was pulling me away from my family. It was pulling me away from my other priorities. And I didn't want that. And so now I love that I get to pour into this team. I get to help them connect with God. I get to, you know, do all these things, but it's on them to be as successful as they want to be with it.
Yes.
And to do what they want to do with it.
That's
and
good.
It has been the greatest blessing in my life. And I would have never thought. I'm sure the first time I was on your podcast, I'd be like, what in the heck? Like, I would have told you you were crazy.
Right.
I was going to be a part of a network marketing company.
Yes.
Not that I had anything wrong with the industry. I love it. But I also loved what I did. And I think it's
you really
a reminder
did.
that sometimes God asks us to lay down things we love because he has something better in store.
So good. So good. And you have walked that out a few times now. You've just started the shift of walking that out yet again.
Yeah.
Just now. Okay. So since this might come off a little bit like a Grace Over Grind commercial, and I'm okay if it does, but
I'm your biggest fan, so let it come.
I'm curious to know, what were some of the most significant shifts? Like you said, like you'll go over this book like once a month. Like there was radical shifts that you made once you started reading it regularly and God started speaking to you through it. So take me through some of the most significant shifts that you've made as a business owner and how you work with God as a result of what he's spoken to you through the book?
I mean, there have been so many. So, I mean, one would be, I wish I had my book in front of me so I could quote it. You might remember the quote, but of just this reminder that we have access to all of heaven's resources.
Yes.
Like all of them. And so I think that's so timely right now because our world feels in an upheaval and in crisis, and friends we love are having to close their doors or have lost their job or lost everything in the stock market. I mean, there's a lot going on. And that's been one of the things that a bunch of people from my team have come and said, because we've walked through this book so many times, they'll start quoting it. But wait, we have access to all of heaven's resources.
Yes.
We catch God by surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, we may not see how it's going to happen in our bank account, but God's still on the throne and he's still our source. And whatever that income was simply a resource. And so we talk about that a lot. There have been other shifts of just this reliance on God. And, I've been a Christian business owner since I started my business. I think it's 15 years now. But there's a very different thing of being a Christian in business. And I even had a business meeting with God, but it still looks so different now of just, I really only do what God shows me to do.
Okay. So, all right, we got to pause. So take me through how you used to do business with God. Paint a picture for me and then tell me how that has shifted.
I think it was probably more I was taking my agenda to God and asking him to bless it.
Oh, I know that path.
Yeah. I think that, as I read back through my prayer journals, I get more of a sense of that. Whereas now I come with no agenda, which is huge for me as a planner. And I ask God to show me the agenda. And so the beauty of that, and one of the things that network marketing has really kind of unearthed in me when I first started, was I went from not really, I shouldn't say care, because I always care what people think, but I went from not really being concerned what people thought. So when I joined my network marketing company and people didn't like it really bothered me. All of a sudden I felt like they were questioning my motives and who I was and all those things. And so the beauty of having this partnership with God and only doing what God shows us to do is that it doesn't matter to me anymore. If you don't like it, then it's not really on me. I just did what God showed me to do. And so there's no I don't even know the word. There's no, I want to say connection. There's no, my worth is not attached to your opinion of me.
Right.
And that has been a huge, huge shift.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. That which stems from having even a healthier identity in who you are in him. Where It's just listen, no, I'm good. I'm good with him. He gave me this idea. I'm good. I'm moving forward. Okay. So then some people may wonder what this looks like for you kind of in a tangible way. So when you say that you're kind of sitting with God and you're saying, okay, I don't have an agenda and I'm asking you for your agenda, what does that look like for you? Does he tend to speak to you in pictures? It's in impressions? How does that flow look like for you?
It's definitely more impressions. So it's not I hear an audible voice. It's more just this intuition and knowing this is the path. And so almost always it's that. And then there's some kind of confirmation. So to give you an example, that whole thing of okay, God put somebody on my heart. I'm starting to pray for them. They message me, they comment when they normally wouldn't have commented, or they send me an email or a text or and it's okay, yeah, that was totally God because, so those moments, I think also God really speaks to me through worship music. I love to just go on walks and listen to music. And so oftentimes God will capture my heart in those moments or confirm something he's already told me. And so for
Yes.
me, I wake up at 5:40 each morning and I spend about an hour or so with God before anybody else in my house is up. And so I do a devotional. That's usually like my time with God, not necessarily for my business, but it's the time where I'm like, working on me as a mom, a wife, like my relationship with God.
Yes.
And then later in the day, that's kind of been turned upside down right now with the kids home with quarantine. But normally it was around 10 o'clock. I would spend another hour or so like with my whiteboard. And what I love about it is that it's not this like rigid thing. I mean, it's not like I'm like praying like this, oh yeah, they can't see me. I don't have my hands like in the prayer posture.
Right.
I'm not like meditating. It's like I'm doing all the things I love to do. I've got my markers out and my paper out, and I'm just dreaming with God, and I'm asking him to show me what's the best thing for my team. How can I love and support them today? How can I, bring people in and do different things? And I think the thing that has been a bit of a challenge for me, which this wouldn't sound like it because my business has evolved so much over the years, but I am such an anchor person, meaning I could eat the same thing for every meal for the rest of my life and be perfectly happy. Like, I will be married to my husband for the rest of my life because once I commit, like I'm committed.
Like I'm in.
Like it's not changing. And so that has been one of the things with my business that has been quite honestly hard because I am such a, like, I'm all in. And that's not how God has led my business. And he has led it by having it evolve and grow. And almost always it comes full circle, but you don't see it coming full circle.
Right.
I heard somebody talking, I don't know where this was, but it was this week. Somebody talking about like when we're in the middle of a miracle, we don't know it's a miracle. It's not until you get to the other side that you can look back and say, oh, wait a minute. Like
Yes.
God just did a miracle.
Yes.
And I feel like that has been very much the case with my business of like things I have had to lay down. And I was grieving and sad. And yet it came full circle and God allowed me to pick it up. But it's because I had to open another door.
Yes.
And if we didn't open the next door, there's no way we could have been where we are.
That's so good. I love that. That's such a good point too. Like you don't know when you're in the midst of it. Once the thing's manifested, you're like, oh, that's what you're doing. That was amazing how you orchestrated that, Lord. And in the midst of it, you're like, okay, what are we doing, Jesus? Okay, good. All right. Taking step by step the best you can, but you don't really know until you know.
Yes.
That's so true.
And all the more reason, I mean, this is a place that God has me in, is if we really believe God is good and we really believe that he has our best interest in mind and that he wants better for us than we want for ourselves, like, why can't we just trust him completely with the unknown?
Yes.
Or with the scary moments? Or, and I feel like God has me in that place right now of just reminding me that I can trust him. Like he's a good father. And I may not understand the storm around us right now, but he is good.
Yeah.
And he loves us. And if we just trust him, we're going to get to the other side and see like it was all for a purpose.
So good. I love that. You have a few minutes. I want to ask you one more.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. I want you to pick the next thing that comes to your mind that has been a really significant shift from how you used to operate in business to now what it looks like for you doing it in partnership with God. What's the next thing that comes to mind?
I think the biggest thing is it's not up to me. Meaning, I think when I started my business 15 years ago, I was single, probably not the smartest, but I had like no savings. I just decided I was leaving my ministry job and I did. I don't know what I was thinking. I would not recommend that path, just so you know. But I very much had even though like I didn't grow up in poverty, my parents were, very well established. When I went through that season, I was very much like in poverty starting out. I remember the first time I got an electric bill and it was double what it was supposed to be, like what I had budgeted for, and like literally had no way to pay the bill. And a girlfriend of mine who was in ministry with me, she rang my doorbell and hands me this envelope. And like, mind you, I had been crying my eyes out. Like, God, why would you do this? I thought I was following you. And she hands me this envelope and she said, my husband and I, she said his name, we want to sow into your ministry. And you guys, it was to the penny, the difference of my electric bill. Not one person knew but God. And it was really in that moment that I realized, like, this is not up to me. And I had to have like a lot of lessons over the years.
Right.
God
Yeah. You're confirming that, right?
Yeah. He's going to take care of it. And it's not up to me.
Yeah.
I can be a tad bit of a control freak. Because I did have some things in my teenage years that like stripped the control. And so I kind of overly compensated. And so I've spent that time since then, not really trying to control God, but I mean, my husband would tell you, like, I like to be in control of the things. I don't like for things to be out of control, which, how fitting that we're in this season. But God just taught me over the years to trust him.
Yeah.
Like a deep, abiding trust that he is good. And so I think that like, it's just this more and more layers of that, of learning to trust him in the midst of unknowns.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, I'm going to totally switch gears on this last question. I want to go back and talk about network marketing industry for a second, because I believe, I've shared this with you behind the scenes, but I really believe that as kingdom-driven entrepreneurs, that some of us have some assignments in our lives that will actually do a lot of industry shifting stuff. That yes, it's a shift in how you do business, but God also then creates this platform that lets the light shine on something that looks different, right? That draws other people and might bring more of his ways into it. And I feel like that's something that God's doing with you. I really do. And I believe we've already even begun to see the beginnings of that, because I recall when you had shared with me how when you were making these shifts and then your team's growing and it's getting the attention of others and they're like, what are you doing over there? And it looked different. So yet it's like God created this platform where it's like, I'm going to shine a light on how I'm doing this with Kelly and Kelly's team. And then it allows the goodness of his ways, of what it looks like to do it with him, to be shown in a broad audience, whether it's a group of believers, a group of those who don't believe, or whatever. Because you can be in a room of believers that none of them do business in partnership with God. That is a very real possibility, right? So it doesn't matter. It is a testimony for believers and those who do not believe alike. It is a testimony for all of them. And I'm excited to see just what God does now that you're even working outside of the bounds of I just building team here in this company to I'm helping others in other companies too. I'm excited to see kind of what God does. But I wanted you to share, just you can maybe confirm my thinking on that, but what has God been showing you, or what have you been experiencing in terms of God really shining a light and it providing an opportunity for others to see how you're flowing?
Yeah, and that has very much been the case. And it's so interesting because it's almost like certain months are like big months. And there's really no explanation for it other than God. And I think it's in those months that like the company we're with, the leaders start asking questions. And they start inviting me to be a part of different panels or different things. And so it's been so fun to watch my team experience that. And really, honestly, I mean, I think one of the things I struggled with that I didn't know I struggled with was pride. And so that's been one of the things that now, like, it's not my plan. It's not my ideas. It's not my agenda. Like, literally, I sit with God and I ask Him to show me. And so there's no way I can be prideful because it's just Him showing me. And so I get to point that back to Him. And it really reminds me, so this isn't with your question, but I feel nudged to share this. So back during the last recession, so I had my business, I was a life coach, and I did one-on-one coaching. That's all I did. I had an office. People came to my office in Kentucky. I didn't have anything else. And when the recession hit, all of a sudden, kind of like what we're going through now, like people canceled left and right, like whether they were affected or not. And I remember having this moment of laying on the floor in my office and like bawling. Can you see like a sign here? Like I just cried. And I'm like, God, why? Which, is one such a reminder. I think God allows crisis moments so we reach out to Him. So I remember laying on the floor crying and asking God, like, how am I going to do this? Like, I am single. I have to have money. Like, what in the world? And God started giving me a plan. I mean, that's when I started writing books. That's when I created membership programs. Like, it was God. And so I just like felt nudged to share that because I think some people that are listening are walking through that right now.
Yes.
They're wondering, like, what am I going to do? And I just want to say, as an entrepreneur, this is not the time, unless God's telling you, of course, but it's not the time to get in the pit and lay down in the mud and feel sorry for yourself. Like, this is the time as entrepreneurs that we are to rise up. And God might want to give you a whole new business, a whole new plan. Like, this didn't catch Him by surprise. And He can use this disruption to get you to where you're supposed to be. And so I just want to throw that out there, that if that's the place you're in, unless God's told you to like close up shop or you're done, like, don't get in that pit and feel sorry for yourself. Don't allow the depression, the anxiety to leak in. In fact, the I Bloom Planner verse of the week, this particular week, is don't fret or worry. Instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions and praises shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concern. And I love this next part. Before you know it, a sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when Christ displaces worry at the center of our life.
So good. Which translation is that?
The Message.
That's good. The figures. That's so good. That's so good. I love that. Okay, so that was a total just God moment for you to release that. Do you have an answer for my question or?
Okay, well, as I was sharing, I was like, wait a minute, I don't even know what she asked anymore. What was your question?
I love a good God interruption. No, it was good. It was a question around industry shifting things and how God will shine a light on how He's doing something with you in a way that it brings attention from others. So I just wanted to say, you did share a little bit about that, but if there was anything else you wanted to share on the other end of that, I wanted to give you that opportunity to do so.
Oh yeah, that question.
Yeah, that one.
I'm seeing
love you, Kelly.
And I think it's such a reminder that, at least for me, like, I feel like God calls me to one thing, but He has a totally different agenda.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that whole trusting, like, do we trust He's in control? And are we willing to allow Him to lead us? And so, yeah, I'm watching God do that. And I think it's even going to be on a bigger scale. And what I'm super excited about is just using my experience from online business to help network marketers build their business in a different way. And through that, getting to impact more people with this grace over grind message and showing them how to partner with God. And so that's just starting. So I'll have to come back in a few years.
Yes, well, less than 5 next time. Less than 5.
Yeah. hopefully there won't be like another mega shift.
Right.
But I kind of feel like I'm on like the front end of the miracle and I'm going to see it later.
Yeah, I believe that as well. So we'll have to have you come back and share the goodness in some months or in a year or something. I appreciate you sharing and I love you so much.
Oh, I love you, friend.
How do people connect with you and get more information about what you're up to?
My website is kellythornegore.com.
Can you spell it?
It's KELLYTHORNEGORE.com.
Very good. KellyThorneGore.com. Thanks, sis.
Thank you. Love you, friend.
Love you.
Thanks for joining us on the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we encourage you to subscribe and spread the word. And don't forget, you can gain access to even more resources, plus a thriving community of fire starters by visiting our website at kingdomdrivenentrepreneur.com.